Did you know that 75% of startups do not have a slide that explains why now in their pitch deck? In this video, I'm not only going to convince you you need to have that, but I'm also going to show you how to create that slide in a way that gets investors to get out their checkbooks. So let's get into it now. I actually read that 75% quote on Ben Yaskovic's Substack. He writes Focused Chaos, where he gives founders advice. And he should know he's a founding partner of Highline Beta. He's an entrepreneur and investor himself. And this one comes from a section that says, "The missing slide that screams urgency. Why now?" I'm quoting him. This one keeps showing up half-baked or not at all. In fact, 75% of the decks I reviewed didn't include it. Think about that for a second. 3 out of 4. Think about the opportunity you're missing. Why should an investor pay attention now versus wait and see? And this is the thing I find that a lot of founders just don't quite understand. They don't really understand the investor perspective because they've never been an investor. The default answer to every pitch is no. That's just something you just have to understand. And it comes from the number of pitches an average angel investor or VC sees. They may see dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of pitches. And I will tell you, a lot of those pitches are very, very good. The problem is that they could be great pitches, but if there's no urgency to act now, it's always safest to wait. Most of these pitches, even if they're good, don't turn into anything. So the key thing is that you need to convince an investor that they're going to miss out if they don't act immediately. And you cannot do that without a compelling answer to why now. And that's why it must be one of the slides that you present. So Ben talks a little bit more about this. When he does see the slides, they're usually awful. They say things like, "We live in a digital first world." Duh. That AI, fill in the blank, is happening. Okay, everybody sees that. Millennials love convenience. Of course they do. Everybody loves convenience. Who likes to be inconvenienced? Or remote work is on the rise. Is it? A lot of companies are doing return to office, so maybe, maybe not. You don't want to debate on these big mega macro trends. 15 years ago, when I was doing some of this, it was all about social media was the big thing, or how many videos are uploaded to YouTube every minute. It didn't make a big difference then, and it doesn't make a big difference now. None of those generalities tell the investor why now is the right time to invest specifically in you. If you're new to the channel, my name is Jason Voiovich. I have been in the founder seat and I've been in the investor seat multiple times. I'm a 4X founder, 1 exit. I have literally commercialized hundreds of new products. So I have absolutely been in the chair where these decisions are being made. And I will tell you that all the slides in your pitch deck are important, and you shouldn't have hundreds of slides. If you're following Guy Kawasaki's advice or Y Combinator's advice, 10 slides, 12 slides, something like that is about right. But I will tell you that the why now slide is the most important slide for getting the investor to stop saying you've got a great idea, to start saying, where do I sign the check and how many zeros should be on it? And that's obviously what you're looking for. I always think these things are a lot easier to see with an example. So that's what we're going to do. What I'm going to show, and the reason I picked Copper Cow Coffee is because I think it's a great pitch. It's just missing the why now slide. So let's step through it and then let's see if we can actually build one together for this company that would create a compelling answer for why now. So this is the big idea. Let's start at Copper Cow Coffee, based out of Los Angeles. It is a Vietnamese coffee place, and this is Debbie, the founder, and her grandmother in Saigon in 1970. Just great photos, really creates an emotional connection. Great beauty shot of the package. I love it. It looks sophisticated. It looks great. Vietnamese coffee is awesome. A little bit of a product demo. Think about this for a second. When you're in the pitch process, you need to give a demo, but it's often very hard to give a demo of a physical product on slides. This is a great way to do it. Again, great. This one is talking about expertise in supply chain management. Debbie is obviously in Vietnam right now in the supply chain itself. So again, this is a great opportunity for her to talk a little bit more about her expertise there, but it's clear that that's a critical part of all this. She has already got some traction, 2,000 stores, mostly specialty stores, Williams-Sonoma, Cost Plus, Macy's, Dillard's, places like that. Heard of all those places. Those aren't no names. Those are real places. And critically, it's not talking about her own website. This is really important. To be able to get into Macy's or get into Williams-Sonoma is not easy. It takes a process. So that communicates to the investor that she has traction and that other people are voting with their wallets. This one's talking a little bit about the coffee industry at $32 billion. I think a little bit more detail would be in order here, but again, most investors who are going to be seeing something like this understand that this is a big market and we don't have to worry about tiny markets here. Again, new revenue opportunities. I really like that. This is where she brings in e-commerce and an office and hotel market. Excellent diversification. And finally, really tangible results. That $80,000 might not seem like a lot of money, but hey, when you're just getting started, that is a critical first traction step. That means that, hey, it's not just a few $100s, not just a few sales online. That represents some real orders from some real distribution with some solid margins for a consumer product. Talks a little bit about the team. Again, small, lean team, MIT and Berkeley. So again, some really key experience there. And then locking it all down with kind of a little bit of a demo. I suspect during this, she pours coffee for investors. What a great way to kind of move to the next step. So again, this is an awesome pitch. I really do like this. But what is it missing? It's missing why the investor shouldn't just wait for some of this retail stuff to kind of take off on its own. Why invest now when maybe I wait until the next major milestone, or maybe I wait till she gets to her first $1 million or her first $5 million. This is what we need to answer here. So there are three critical aspects of time that will help us craft a why now slide that works for her. So when we're thinking about time and timing when it comes to a pitch deck like this, we've got three ways to look at time: chronological, sequential, and perceptual. And we'll take those each in order. Chronological time is simply the days, the weeks, the months, the years. Is there something special about the date or the calendar that makes Copper Cow Coffee special? Now, you might be able to guess. I'm half Cuban, probably tell from the hat, from the accent, from the look, but I take my coffee, like most Cubanos do, very, very seriously. And I know, even with my preference for Cuban coffee, that the Vietnamese make awesome coffee, and especially awesome iced coffee. It's great for summer. So is there an angle there with launching in the summer or some seasonal demand that we know is going to start to take off within a certain amount of time? We'd certainly look for trends in iced coffee that will show us that there's room in the market that's beyond Starbucks or Dunkin'. That's a possibility, so let's put a pin in that and come back. The next way we look at time is sequential. Those are the gates that need to open so that new growth can happen. When I work in medical devices or pharmaceuticals, those are really, really easy. You have to pass your clinical trials, you need to get your regulatory approvals, and then you can start to market. So they are very clear in terms of what those gates are, so it's easy to think that way. But with consumer products, we're not really used to thinking about sequential gates and sequential locks that need to get opened. A few ideas here. What if there's a new trade deal coming with Vietnam and the United States that could lower import costs? That's interesting. That would improve the margins and make things easier to ship across borders. That's something to consider. Could there be pending distribution arrangements with major growers? Let's say we had Williams-Sonoma and we have Macy's, but there's a deal in the works with Walmart, Costco, Target. That's something that's really interesting. Ideally, you want that gate cracked, but not fully open. Investors want to be riding the horse when it leaves the barn, not chasing it after it leaves. So again, those are additional great ideas. Let's think about the third way to think about time. That's perceptual time. It's how people feel about time. Is time moving fast? Is it moving slow? Is there some sort of tipping point that's happening? So a few things that could be issues there. Starbucks is obviously the big coffee player in the United States. And 30 years ago, competing against Starbucks would have been a very difficult proposition. But today, has Starbucks lost a little bit of its mojo? I would say so. Employees are starting to organize, they're starting to get pushback, they're starting to get real questions about quality. Again, still popular, but they're not invincible like they once were. Dunkin', on the other hand, still huge on the East Coast, obviously expanding throughout the country, but oddly infatuated with Ben Affleck. I don't understand that. Someone in the comments explain to me why Dunkin' is so obsessed with Ben Affleck. There are a lot of other Bostonians you could use. I could pick 10 other better candidates than that, but Ben Affleck is the horse they have chosen to ride. That's weird. Is there an opening there? There could be. Maybe the biggest one, though, is with a female-led founder. Most of the coffee buyers for Starbucks, the ones that are driving the growth, are women aged 18 to 35, and 35 to 55. Could they be looking forward to a female-led company to support? Obviously, those are all possible ideas that will help us illustrate why now is the right time to invest in her company versus later. How do we decide which of those things to put on the slide? Of those, I think the most appealing to investors would be the financially focused stage gates. That would be distribution agreements and trade deals. They scale quickly, they mean much larger increases in revenue and lower costs, which is exactly what investors are looking for when they're investing. They are looking for 10x, 50x, 100x, not 1.2x. More than that, trends in iced coffee really aren't that interesting. There's a lot of competition in the coffee market. And when we talk about, well, wouldn't women who are buying coffee at Starbucks want to support her because she's a female founder? Sure, I think they will say that they want to, but whenever people say they want to support kind of insert group name here, businesses, the reality is that that support, even if it materializes at all, tends to be pretty short-lived and just isn't sustainable. And investors know it. So distribution agreements might not be the right answer for your startup, but the 3 dimensions of time is the method you will use to discover that for yourself. So if you're a founder, what do you do right now? First off, if you don't have the why now slide in your deck, create one. Use the method that we just talked about. But if you do, make sure it passes the 3 clocks test. Is it the right time? Is it the right stage? Or is it the right moment? It has to be compelling, whatever you pick. Because if you can't convince an investor to act now, they won't. So that's it for today. Do you have a pitch deck that you'd like me to look at in a future video? Post it in the comments. Until then, I'll see you in the next one.